So a few months back, we decided to install one of those outdoor floodlight security camera things on our property. There was no specific incident that prompted it or anything. It's just to have extra peace of mind around the property. But it is kind of nice to be able to see when strange cars come up our driveway. And it's an awful lot of fun to look at all the various wildlife that passes through during the day and during the night. And of course, every once in a while, I like to have a little fun with it too. Greetings, one and all, and welcome back to Tom's Hit Parade. By the way, I invite you to hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you like what you see, share this video with your friends, and leave me your thoughts down in the comment section. That would be amazeballs. Okay, that word needs to die. So anyway, I am coming at you this month with my February playlist video. Yes, playlist is back after years of absence, and yes, playlist is just the monthly video in which I show you what I listened to over the previous month. The simplest concept you could ever come up with for a video, right? Anyway, yes, the month in question is February. And as I mentioned in my January playlist, I am concentrating on the goal of eliminating my vinyl listening backlog, which is this row up here and a row above it, which you cannot see in the frame of the camera. So, yes, I've got a lot of work ahead of me, but I have been keeping up so far with my goal of listening to at least one album every other day. So yes, I have actually 16 albums. So I actually got a little bit ahead of the game with when it comes to February. So let's go ahead and get started. And yes, again, I've kind of broken these up, sorted these by category or genre roughly. One of these months, I'll just do it at random. That'll be fun. Seat of your pants video. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the rock and pop stuff. The first one is the newest item in this pile here, Found Heaven by Conan Gray. It was released last year, and if you watched my Albums of the Year video, I won't spoil it, but this one achieved a very high ranking. But yes, this kid he just did a total 80s homage with this album. Fantastic. Never Ending Song and Lonely Dancers, and I believe it was Boys and Girls, were probably my favorite songs on this album. Yeah, you can't really see the track listing because of the it is outlining the water drop formation there on the back. But yes, if you love modern day homages to past decades, especially the 80s synth pop stuff, check out Conan Gray, especially this album. Fantastic. It's called Found Heaven. It's a great, great album. Up next is an album from the 80s. I didn't plan it this way. 90125 by Yes. One of my favorite albums of the 80s, and one of my favorite songs is Leave It. And of course, this also has Owner of a Lonely Heart, probably the band's biggest hit. And yes, I am. Prog rock has always been a difficult genre for me to get into. So for that reason, this is my favorite Yes album. Yes, up till this point, they had been a prog rock band primarily. This is where they kind of broke away from that and went into pop music. I enjoyed it. Yes, purists, maybe not so much, but anyway. And then some more rock pop. Here we have Daryl Hall and John Oates with Big Bam Boom, another great album. Hall & Oates is one of my favorite bands of the 80s, favorite groups of the 80s. And I'm blanking on the track list, so let me see if I can get it. Actually, no, this is the album where the inner sleeve is still there, but it's badly wrinkled, so it's going to cause a mess if I pull it out. But yeah, all the hit singles from this album, of course, are some of my favorites, and some great deep cuts on here too. So yeah, Hall & Oates continued their winning streak with this album, Big Bam Boom. Great album. And then we have another 80s group here, Toto, with their album Fahrenheit. And yes, this one had, I meant to check what was the other hit song. I'll Be Over You was their one big hit. But as I was listening to this, I heard a song that I had I had forgotten was by Toto. Was it We Can Make It Tonight, or was it Without Your Love? The original sleeve is not in here, so I can't tell for sure. But I kind of like this. I'm kind of fond of this era of Toto because um, yeah, Joseph Williams on vocals, this guy here, the son of my favorite film composer of all time, John Williams. So, yeah. But that's not the only reason I like Toto. They had some great hits before. This, I believe, was the first album that Joseph Williams joined them with on vocals. So, yeah, very, very good stuff. Then we have an album. I'm going to take a drink here first. Bit of a scratchy throat today. Next album is by a very well-known 80s band, but it was not one of their better received albums. Culture Club. This is From Luxury to Heartache. This is their fourth album, I believe. And yeah, I honestly cannot remember any hits off this album, any songs. It is, yeah, that reason. For that reason, I'm sure it's just kind of was not very successful. And they tried to change their image too, I think. Tried to slick it up for mid to late 80s stuff. When was this done? 1986. So it was an okay album, but obviously their previous three albums were much, much better. And then we have another half of this thing is 80s. I guess I didn't realize that. The Motels with their album Little Rubbers. The song Suddenly Last Summer was the big hit off of this album. And some other great songs on here as well. This, I believe this was the album where there were a handful of reggae song stylings on here, which I guess I didn't realize the Motels kind of delved into. To be totally honest, I was just not very familiar with the Motels aside from their big singles until I started listening to their albums. But yeah, a very good album. I was pleasantly surprised by that one. Then we have, I'm going through these awfully quick. I guess this is going to be a bit of a short video. Then we have probably the most famous album in this stack, Bad by Michael Jackson. This album needs no introduction. You guys, you know it. Everybody knows the songs. What was it? All but one were charting singles. Yeah. I Just Can't Stop Loving You, the title track, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Smooth Criminal. Yes, this was the final part of his successful trilogy of Quincy Jones produced albums. Yes, and all three of which I have on vinyl. So yeah, say what you will about his what he became more famous or more infamous for later on in life. I just couldn't. I couldn't part with his music. It's just too much a part of my childhood, my youth, my teenage years. I just can't. Couldn't cast out Michael Jackson's albums from my collection. This next one is a compilation. I think it's the only compilation on here. It's called Breakdancing, and this one I got for this sorority house was having a yard sale last spring, and they had a handful of records, maybe 8 or 10 records, and I saw this one. This one just looked really interesting, so, and I asked, "How much do you want for it?" And she said, "Well, whatever you want to give us for the whole stack of records." So I gave her like $10, and I got like 8 or 10 records, and this was one of them. So, and yes, this is a compilation of songs that were made popular with the breakdancing craze from the mid 80s. And yes, Buffalo Girls by Malcolm McLaren leads it off. Herbie Hancock's Rocket, probably the most famous song there. And then we've got songs by Lisa and Cult Jam. Run DMC, It's Like That was the song from them that's featured on here. Grandmaster Melly Mel and the Furious Five, White Lines Don't Do It, one of their hit singles. So yeah, a very cool compilation. I am just not much into hip hop or that kind of stuff, but this was fun to listen to, I've got to say, and this will definitely be a keeper. And I meant to, as soon as I got the record, I meant to look up and see how much it might be going for on Discogs. I never have. So, and excuse me, and just because I really have no interest in parting with it, really. So, at some point, I'm sure I'll look up its value. And then next up we have, we're going back into the 70s now. Time Passages by Al Stewart. This was a 70s album, wasn't it? Yeah, 1978. There's the title track, Time Passages. and probably the only singer with a sibilant S that actually made a pretty good name for himself. Song on the Radio was another hit of his that's on here. I've meant to check out his stuff more in depth. My sister, one of the CDs my sister that I inherited from my sister in her collection, is an Al Stewart compilation, and I kind of liked it. I've always meant to delve more into his studio albums, and this is actually the first one that I've listened to all those years later. So, yeah, very nice. And that one I think was on. No, that one I got at a St. Vinny's, I think. A little beat up, but yeah, it's all right. Then we have an album. I've enjoyed this group for a long time. They're a power pop group from the 70s, I believe, called the Rubinoos. And this is their debut album, self titled. And yeah, nobody particularly famous came out of the Rubinoos, but they made a couple songs that became more famous with cover versions. I Think We're Alone Now, which was made famous by Tiffany in the 80s. The Rubinoos originally did that song. Oh, I thought there was another. Well, there's probably another popular song on here, but I am not really well versed in the Rubinoos. I like them, but I haven't listened to them quite enough to really absorb their catalog. Say, but I like them enough that I was looking for this album and their second album, which I got both of which at the same time. I bought a couple of years ago, and I really enjoy their stuff. So I do need to, as I said, these albums have been sitting in my listening backlog. I've been neglecting them. I felt really guilty about that, and I am trying to, with this playlist video through this year, to rectify that injustice. So, but yeah, the Rubinoos, excellent band. I think they only made 2 albums. Maybe they made a third one, but yeah, they did not. And I did have a Rubinoos compilation CD a long time ago, and I traded it in anticipation of picking up their studio albums, and it took me like 2 or 3 years after that before I picked up their albums. And then we have, now we're getting to some jazz. Here we have Chuck Mangione. Is it Mangione or Mangione? I can't remember. Feels So Good. The title track is probably his best known composition. And yes, he is a cornetist. Is that what the album is? Flugelhorn, excuse me. And yeah, Grant Geisman is the guitarist. And I'm sure Grant Geisman has done other stuff. Maybe he's done solo stuff as a jazz artist as well. But yeah, this one was fun. It's fun to listen to. I've always enjoyed the song "Feels So Good." Very, very good song. And yeah, only 6 tracks on here. So yeah, a short album, but an enjoyable album all the same. So, yeah, good stuff. And then this is actually another record that I got from that sorority house yard sale. Never heard of Dave Pell before, but this is the Dave Pell Octet plays today's hits in jazz. A good album, a decent album. Yeah, Fly Me to the Moon, A Taste of Honey, which Herb Alpert made famous, Desafinado, Cast Your Fate to the Wind, Days of Wine and Roses. So, yes, today's hits is obviously from quite a while ago. Not sure what the copyright date on this album is. It does not say on the label either. So, but yeah, I gotta say, as jazz albums go, it was a totally decent listen. A little bit of noise on it, a couple of scratches, but it played pretty well and was nice background music. Now, this next artist, I've got a few albums by him. I could talk about him for a while, but maybe I'll save that for another video. But his name is Bent Fabric. He is a Dutch or Danish jazz pianist, and the song "Alley Cat" is what he is most famous for. And this is another one of his. Yes, Alley Cat. I think was his first album, or at least his most successful album. I believe this is the album right after that, The Happy Puppy. Isn't he cute? He's so cute. Um, but yes, some of the same kind of stuff. Jaunty, feel good, light jazz pop on here as what you would find on Alley Cat and his other albums. So fun stuff. The French pop song "C'est si bon," he does a cover of that one. The Sunshine of Your Smile. Yes, the album starts out with The Happy Puppy, and it ends with Puppy Love. I don't know if that's the song. I actually didn't pay attention while it was playing enough to tell whether that was the song that Paul Anka made famous. No, it was somebody else. I can't remember. Anyway, fun album, I've got to say. And then we have the one and only soundtrack in this set is Battlestar Galactica, and this was in with the lot of soundtrack records that I was able to find at St. Vinny's a few months ago. Yeah, the day after my birthday, I got some Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones soundtracks, a Star Wars soundtrack, and a couple others that I was very happy to get. This was in that lot, and yes, the music from Stu Phillips for the. This is actually the movie that spawned the TV series. So yeah, some great classic 80s sci-fi soundtrack music, Battlestar Galactica, cool stuff. And this one is kind of soundtrack related. It is by the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. It is When You Wish Upon a Star. And as you could tell by the title, it is a tribute to Walt Disney, the songs from Walt Disney movies. Very, very pretty vocal arrangements. And of course, the choir, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, one of the most famous choirs in the world for good reason. And yes, they have medleys from Pinocchio, Cinderella, a few songs from Cinderella, Peter Pan, a song from Song of the South, Zippity Doo Dah. Yes, it is. Song of the South is one of those Disney movies that has a very dubious reputation. Snow White and Mary Poppins. So, yeah. Very fun album. It's one of the. I don't think there are very few people whose childhood wasn't touched in some way by those classic Disney movies and by extension the songs. So, yeah. Very fun and welcome addition to my vinyl library in there. This last record is perhaps the most meaningful in my life, even though I've only had the record for 6 months or so. I've had the CD of this album ever since it was first released in 1988. Actually, it was a little bit after that. But anyway, it's called Legends, and it is by Eric Tingstad and Nancy Rumbel. Eric Tingstad is a guitarist, and I believe also a keyboardist, and Nancy Rumbel is a woodwind instrument player. She plays the flute, English horn, ocarina, oboe, and but yes, this is a wonderful album. This is on the Narada label, and Narada is considered a new age label, or was. I think they're gone. They were absorbed by another label. But yes, back in the late 80s, the early 90s, when new age was coming up as a popular music genre, the vast majority of new age was electronic or synthesizer based. The Narada Lotus imprint, Narada had 3 imprints. Lotus was concentrated on acoustic music. And so, yes, kind of a bit of a departure from the predominantly synthesizer based new age music. And yes, this stuff is, as kind of suggested by the title and more suggested by the track listings, uh, the theme of this album is legendary, folk heroes, legendary people, places, and things. Um, Aladdin is one of those. Sacagawea, the Native American figure. Johnny Appleseed, Don Juan, Galileo. So yes, real people and people of legend were kind of subjects of these compositions. And this album is just beautiful. It is. It's one of my all-time favorites. One of my comfort food albums, I guess you'd say. And because the compositions on here, they feel like folk songs that have existed for 300 years. That's what these melodies feel like. I don't know if it's just because I've been listening to it for 30 years or what, but I mean, if you're looking for just some very mellow, breezy, relaxing stuff, I think this album is available on streaming. I think I've been able to call it up on Amazon, my Amazon streaming at times. But yeah, it's worth a listen. And as I said, the CD has been a steadfast part of my collection for 35-ish years. And I was very happy to come into possession of the album. And this was another one that was on the freebie shelf at House of Records. Just, yeah. And yeah, I was able to, one of my all-time favorite albums, just sitting there on the freebie shelf. So yes, obviously the old New Age stuff does not sell well at the record store. And yeah, the jacket's a little dinged, but and the record has a couple of, you can hear a couple of clicks in the record on a couple places, but otherwise it's in very, very good shape and no actual skips. So yes, a very nice, a very feel-good album for me to end my February playlist video. So that'll do it for my February playlist. Be sure to like it if you like it. And before you go, drop me some feedback in the comment section. I'd love to know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon for my future videos, and my username to browse my old videos. Links to my socials and my favorite fellow YouTubers are in the description below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and remember, life's too short to be a music fan.